did you do that? How did you do that?
Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today I'm going to be giving you the update for the Horns of the Reach DLC for the almost immortal warrior tank build. Now this has been pretty popular since its original post, although I did get a lot of flack for it for not following the meta, I know. But he has had a few updates. He's still just as strong as he was before, so if you have already got the original setup and you don't want to change from it, of course you don't have to. Everything is still absolutely fine. However, he has been changed with the new DLC in mind. There's a new setup attached to this, and there's a slightly new way to play him. Not much different from the last one, but we'll get to it anyway. So first of all, I'm going to look at the stats. Now, this is going to be 100% unbuffed, so I won't touch any buttons. I'll just press character. He's pretty close to cap resists with no buffs. 2.1k magicka recovery, 45k max health, 10k stam, and all points into health. Now what you can do if you're not comfortable with this, I'll mess with food and stuff in a moment, you can drop your attributes in health a little bit and pump up some stam if you're more comfortable with that. But that's a personal choice. You don't have to do that the way I'm doing it. You can do it the way you want if you like. The food I'm using is max health, max magicka recovery. Again, this can also be switched out. And of course I'm a stage 4 vampire using the Atronach Munda Stone for magicka recovery. Now here's the difference. If I put on a potion, I say crit pot I think because it lasts longer, but it's a magical potion essentially. 2.4, almost 2.5k magicka recovery, which is ridiculous. Now if you change your food, you will drop recovery. Where's my food? But for more stamina intense kind of fights, you can pump up your stam here. So you've got 46k health now with almost 16k stam, but your magicka recovery has dropped a little bit. So just be careful on your spam and abilities. But it's still very, very high, and it's still almost cap resists. Now I can actually cap those resists if I gold the last 3 or 4 pieces of my armor, but I haven't done because I ran out of tempers. Anyway, again, if that's not enough stam for you, change your attributes here, drop some health, gain some stamina, you'll be absolutely fine. I think you can sit around 41, 42k health with about somewhere around 18k stam, maybe even push to 20 if you want to drop to 40k health. It's entirely up to you. But I'm more comfortable with this, and I prefer this food for most situations, so I have more recovery. Now, I'm going to go into the skills first of all. These are very simple, but I will explain them for anyone that doesn't know how to use them. I'll explain how they benefit the build as well. And this will kind of start making sense altogether. First of all, for the front bar, we use Igneous Shield. This is very, very important. This gives you a damage shield and up to 5 other members of your group. So 6 people essentially. Also, while this is active, it has to still be on you. While it's active, you gain major mending, improving your healing done. That's very, very important. But above all, the more health you have, the bigger this shield is. Now, it did get reduced a bit, and our own shield is about the same, so it gets a 200% additional damage shield based on what that is. So we actually get a pretty hefty shield ourselves, but it gives the group around a 5k damage shield almost, well, 4.5 anyway. But if you have a Warhorn, you have more health, so this gets stronger. Anyway, this is basically it. Puts a shield of rocks around you. Look at my health bar. You can see shields a shit ton over my health, and it does the same to your group members as well. Now, the whole point of the magicka recovery is so this can happen quite a lot. It lasts 6 seconds. It will probably run out within the first 2 because you're getting hit, but I can keep that up quite a lot. And because my resists are so high, I don't actually need a resist buff. So I don't waste any additional magicka buffing up when I don't need to. Second skill, Green Dragon Blood. This is pretty essential. It gives you stam recovery, which is nice. I mean, it puts you up to, what are we on? And stam recovery is rubbish anyway. 700. So that passively helps you while your shield is down, although I don't keep my shield up. You'll see that in a moment. But above all, what this skill does, gives you health recovery, which is rubbish as well, because we're a vampire. But it does give you health back based on currently 37% of your missing health. Now if we pop an Igneous Shields first and give major mending. Hey, Lord Warden talking there. Hear that? That's my shield. 45% of your missing health if you pop an Igneous first. And don't forget, because it's based off your missing health, the more health you have, the better. If you can stack some more, fine. If you can't, don't worry about it. The more health you have, the better, because it gives you freedom to go lower in your health pool than other people. If you have 30k health, halfway is 15k. That's pretty risky. But if you say 45, 50 with the Warhorn this guy is, I can go down to 25k before I even hit my halfway point. So then I can use this less often, but more efficiently. So bear that in mind. That's why you have a lot of health. However, this can crit, and I'll get to that in the skills and the passives and all the rest of it. This is very, very important. And above all, this has a passive applied to it as well, which I will get to. But essentially, keep this on all the time for your stam recovery and another passive, which I'll get to. And when you need to, Igneous first, heal second. Very, very strong. Now, this is Pierce Armor. This is a morph of, what the hell is it called? Puncture. It's called Puncture. In the Sword and Board abilities, it's the first one you unlock. And this is your basic taunt. Lasts for 15 seconds, and for 12 seconds of that, it applies a debuff. Major Breach and Major Fracture, reducing the physical and spell resistance of the target by 5280. That's very, very important, and that will make your DPS do more damage because you're breaching into their resistances, improving their overall performance. So that's very, very important, but above all, it's a taunt. Keep that on the target, don't let it go. Absorb Magicka, this is insane. This also stacks with Igneous Shields, I believe. Major Mending will then increase the healing from this to 20% of your max health. So the more health you have, the more effective it is. Not only does it increase the amount of damage you can block and reduce the cost of your blocks, but this also, if you apply it, puts a damage shield on me. That doesn't protect me from everything. What that does is that protects me from one Magicka projectile. And it can be up to 22, almost 23k damage, which won't harm me. But I then heal, if we pop this first, for 20% of my missing health. So that's pretty big. So this here can be anywhere between a 10k plus heal, depending on your healing received and your crits and all the rest of it. It's pretty strong. So if you're getting bombarded with loads of Magicka projectiles, you can keep yourself alive with this. And then heavy attack in between to get you stand back. And Igneous, of course, but we're getting to that. Really strong. Bone Shield, this is your second damage shield. Don't spam this because it's bloody expensive. But as long as you can maintain your stamina, this is really, really helpful. This one automatically shields you and 5 other people. This one shields you for 33% of your max, 30% of your max health and returns damage, but you can take the other morph if you prefer. If an ally synergizes this, they receive a damage shield and 3 others where they absorb up to 60% of their max health in this damage shield. So they get it as well. So it's really, really strong. Now, the trick is, if you run an off tank, for example, and you've got a member here and a member here and a member here, and you're not really doing much on the fight apart from trying to keep up Warhorns and all the rest of it, you can keep your shields up, give a bone shield to him, he can synergize it. Give a bone shield to him, he can synergize it. And then here, same again. Now you can coordinate that, or you can just stay where you are and hope that people pick up the synergies, whatever, but it's really, really, really strong. So I would encourage people to use that a lot more often. It's such a huge damage shield, and it stacks with this. Just again, like I said, be careful with your stam, because it is quite expensive, and you are going to have to heavy attack quite a bit to keep your sustain up while using it. Be careful. This is essential, and it is possibly broken. 7 seconds, 100 ultimate, which is cheap as hell. If you're using the dragon, by the way, which I was using in the previous setup, that's still absolutely fine. This is a lot cheaper with that, but this setup's a little different. But like I said at the beginning, if you're using the previous setup, which I will link in the description, that is absolutely fine. You can still stick with it. You don't have to do this. Anyway, this makes you block for free for 7 seconds. No stam cost whatsoever, and all of your sword and board abilities are free. So this one here, where you spam magic absorb, absorb magic even, that's free. Your taunts are free. This is really important when you're on axes and stuff. You can pop this, block for free, taunt him, taunt him, taunt him, taunt him, back in action. This hasn't even run out yet, and it didn't cost you a single bit of stamina. Or, underneath that shield, not only can you run full speed, you can heavy attack to get your stamina back while you're in trouble. It's very, very, very strong. So that's your oh shit button. Very important. If anyone screams at you for using this instead of a Warhorn, they're an idiot, because you probably needed it. This is for you. If you're in trouble, use it. On the back bar. I'm not using that, actually. Where's it gone? Sorry, I was messing with some stuff earlier. There we go. Now, this here isn't usable in all trials, the Choke and Talent, so I'll get to that in a moment. But first of all, Invigorate and Drain. This is nuts. Now this, you can't use all the time, but in certain situations you can, depending on whether you're off tanking or whether there's just not enough damage coming in for you to even warrant a block or anything. Just keep your taunts up and you can use this, and this will give you 5 ultimate every second and replenish your health, restoring 22% of your missing health every second as well. So this is very, very strong. An ulti gain and a heal combined, but it is a channel ability, so you can't block while you're using it, so be careful. Also, it's very, very cheap. Heroic Slash, again, another ultimate gain. You get 1 ultimate every 1.5 seconds for 9 seconds just for having it active. It doesn't matter if you're on the other bar when you've pressed it. It's a buff, minor heroism, you get to keep that. Also, for hitting the enemy with it, you reduce their incoming damage to you and everybody else by 15% for 12 seconds, and it does a bit of damage in the snare, but don't worry about the damage. This is for damage reduction and for ulti gain. Range Taunt, this is very, very simple. It's in the Undaunted skill line, and it's morphed for Inner Rage, and this is the magical version of it. You can go Stamina if you want, but this particular one has a 38% chance to have one of your allies be able to synergize it, and it does a stupid amount of damage. Here it says it does, what, 2.5k when it explodes? It doesn't. For the person who synergizes it, it's based off of their max resources and stats, and if they are a high DPS class, that 2.5k can turn into something like 29 plus at most. That's the most I've ever seen. Average is around 20, but I've seen it hit 29 plus. It's really, really stupid. So very, very strong in the right situations, especially in stack ups. Always have one of these range taunts on one of the targets, and the DPS can take advantage of it. Also, it gives you the freedom to range taunt whatever. So if someone's at that post over there, I can taunt him from there and he'll come to me. Very, very simple. Rather than me running all the way over here, stabbing him, and running all the way back and just making a complete mess of whatever was getting damaged in here. Range taunt means you can stay where you are and bring everything in without needing to take the rest of the stuff out of the dots, which is frustrating if people do that, so it's useful. Chains, again, unrelenting grip. Now the reason we've morphed it to this is because if you pull something that's CC'd, it gives you back the magicka, so you didn't waste it. But above all, this is a chain very reminiscent of Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. It chains people into your feet. Simple combo for that is to chain them in and then claw them up, root them. These claws here, you can't see it, but I'll show you in a moment down the end there. It brings claws out the ground. Every single target in there is pinned, if they can be pinned. Some can't. It does damage, but it's not that strong, especially on a tank. Every single target that is captured in here will reduce their damage by 15% for 6 seconds. Not a huge amount of time, but it's a damage reduction nonetheless, and it gives you enough time to kind of get everything in place while everyone burns them down. That's mostly for small ads and dungeons and stuff like that. There's a few up there at the beginning, but I'll show you that in a sec. If you're not using the talons, because some situations you don't need them, you can switch out for Elusive Mist. Now I know people don't generally use this in PvE that much, but you probably should. Now when you activate this, your magicka regen is stopped and you cannot be healed, so be very, very careful with it, although stamina does still recover. When you have this active, you move 30% faster and you take 75% less damage. Now on bosses, on an actual boss, the big ones, this doesn't work. However, on everything else, all the mini stuff, all the ads, all the pulls, whatever, it does work. So if you're up there and there's a war priest or whatever, he's going to throw a heavy attack at you and you're out of stamina for whatever reason, pop this, he'll hit nothing but air. He'll go straight through you. I mean, it will connect with you, but it won't do anywhere near enough damage to even be noticeable. Now, why he hits air? Basically, that's a knockdown effect, but this makes you immune to knockdowns. So that sword will just go straight through this mist. You'll take barely any damage whatsoever, and you swap bars and you're back. Simple as that. Very, very strong in the right situations. And of course, a little bit of a pro tip for you. Block ulti is amazing, of course, on the axes, because you can retaunt everything and heavy attack to get your stamina back. Something else to note. If you're out of stam for God knows what reason on the axes, you still got aggro with them, but there's no way you're going to block because you're out. Pop this. Same will apply. They'll still hit you, they will still do a very small amount of damage, but they will not knock you down, stun you, or anything. A little bit of a tip there. Anyway, that's a bit more advanced. If you're new to tanking, don't worry too much about it at the moment, but it's a very, very strong skill. Now, what else have we got? Also, if you're in a situation where you're definitely not going to use the vampire heal, you can literally just swap it for the... Oh, wrong one. You can put the mist form just here and keep your claws or whatever if you need it. It's entirely up to you. Another flex slot. of course, deep breath. If you're in a situation where there are lots of enemies all close by and they all have interruptible abilities, you can cast this and it will stun the enemies and set them off balance for doing so. You interrupt them. But that's another story. Above all, chains, claws, you can either have Mistform or Vampire Drain. It's entirely up to you. Warhorn, aggressive Warhorn. You do have to go to PvP to get this, but it is worth it. It increases your whole group's damage, critical damage I might add, by 15% for almost 10 seconds. And for 30 seconds, it also gives them 10% max stamina, health, and magicka. It's very, very strong. You do need this inside a trial, or even dungeons if you like, or maybe even PvP for a laugh. It's a very, very strong skill, so I definitely recommend putting this on your back bar. That on the front, that on the back. Passives, the important stuff, so it's not so complicated. Don't worry about these too much. They're mostly for damage and snare effects and all the rest of it, but if you have the space or the points to get them, get them. These are important. Reduces the amount of damage you can block. Sorry, increases the amount of damage you can block. So basically for blocking, you take 10% less damage. This is very important. Increases your healing received while a draconic power ability is active. This here, this heal, I said earlier it's a buff as well. While it is active, this passive kicks in. Your healing received is 12% more. Increases your health recovery by 5%. It's useless. You're not going to need it. You're a vampire. But you can get it anyway for the tiny little bit of a bonus you get for it. Increases your spell resistance by 3299. That's a huge amount of resistances to spell resistance. As a DK, you get that passively. Make sure you get it. Earth and Heart. Anyone leveling up a tank, if you don't know already, get this skill line maxed as soon as possible. Nothing worse than being a level 50 DK and not having this skill line. This is essential. In fact, it's essential for all DKs. Stamina, magic, or tanks, or even healers. Basically, the main one we use is this, which is Ignis Shield, of course. Can use Magma Shell, which is an immortal button, but that's entirely up to you. But anyway, the passives. This increases the duration of your Earth and Heart ability, so Ignis Shields last longer. When you cast an ultimate ability, you restore 52 health, magicka, and stamina for each point of the ultimate's cost. So the more expensive the ultimate, the more resources you get back. You can actually survive when you're about to die by pressing an ultimate, because you get shit tons of stuff back. Really important passive. This one, casting an Earth and Heart ability, grants minor brutality to you and your group. That's actually 6 people, increasing your weapon damage by 5% for 20 seconds. That's important. Keep that buff up, as you will, because you're going to be using Ignis Shields. And if you are in combat, you also generate 3 ulti for ultimate, and this effect can happen once every 6 seconds. So, this, just for using it, gives you 3 ultimate in combat once every 6 seconds. And if you, every time you cast it, if you look at the blue symbol there with the mace on it, that buff just keeps reapplying. That's minor brutality. That's for you and your group, increasing their damage. The yellow one, by the way, or the green one, that's my major mending, which is from Ignis Shields, and that just improves your heals while it's active. We mentioned that a moment ago. Finally, Helping Hands. 990 stamina back when you use an Earth and Heart ability. Now, blocking is negative to your stamina recovery. So if you're blocking, you can't recover stamina. Watch my bar. It doesn't move. Drop it. Goes up. Now let's lose some. Why is that Earth and Heart passive important? I'm going to use an Earth and Heart ability. Ignis Shields. Buffs us, and it replenishes my stamina. And that's why our magicka recovery is also important, because we can keep that up quite a bit. If we're using pots as well, of course, our recovery is up all the time, and this becomes a lot easier. You don't necessarily have to spam it that much, depends what sort of fight you're in, but you're not going to struggle for resources, especially if you're heavy attacking as well. Really, really important. These passives are key. You must have these Earth and Heart passives. The trick to level them up fast is to slot a few abilities of this skill line on your bar while you're leveling and get this to 50 ASAP. Now, one-handed shield, you need every single one of these, not the skills themselves, but the passives. They increase the amount of blocking you can do, how much it costs, and your movement speed while blocking, and all that kind of stuff. It's really, really important. Make sure you get all of these. You can look at them in your own time. I won't go over them in too much detail, but they're very important. We're not using any light armor, doesn't matter. Not using any medium armor, doesn't matter. Points saved, awesome. Heavy armor, get every single one of these. Heal and receive bonus, 8% there. That stacks on top of the 12% we get from holding a Draconic Power ability active. So we have Dragon Blood on, 12%. We have this, it's 8% on top, 20% already. Increases the maximum magicka and stamina your heavy attacks restore. We do need to do this to get stamina back, and for using heavy armor we have a bonus to it, which is of course very, very important. This one's not too important because it's mostly about weapon damage and spell damage, and we don't do that much damage anyway, but you can get it if you want. Juggernaut, of course, is very, very important. The more heavy armor we wear, the more health we get. 2% per piece, so we're on 14% for wearing 7 pieces. Very, very nice. Constitution, this gives you back a certain amount of resources every 4 seconds if you are taking damage, so it's useful. And of course it increases health recovery, but that's not important because we are a vampire again. But get them anyway, this is a valid passive, you are going to need it. Resolve, this of course increases our physical and spell resistance, so this is very, very strong also. Vampire, crucial stuff, 10% magicka and stam recovery. Stam recovery is not that important, but the magicka is. We need this, and above all, undeath. This is essential. While under 50% health, you can take up to 33% less damage. So you can go really, really low, and of course, Dragon Blood, if you remember, the lower your health, the more you get back. So you can mess with this and go quite low and be really safe with it and get a massive heal. The heal, by the way, from Dragon Blood can almost fill, if not completely fill, your bar in one pop. Fighters Guild, I use this sometimes. This is a Ring of Preservation. I don't use it that often because I don't have a lot of stamina, but you can if you want, and it reduces income and damage for all the people standing in the circle for 8%. So it's quite nice, but entirely to you and situational. But above all, you want to get this passive here. If any undead or whatever are killed by you, which can happen, you will get ultimate back for it. Undaunted, 2% for each type of armor worn to our full resources. Max magicka, stamina, and health. Now, we're wearing one type of armor, so we get a flat 2% across the board for everything. Now, if you went light and medium as well, yes, of course, you get 6% across the board. But then we'd drop 4% in our heavy armor passive, so our health would be exactly the same. The only difference is, of course, we would lose resistance, and we don't really want to do that. So I keep 7 heavy because I want him to be as chunky as possible. But you must get this passive. This one here as well, 4% of your resources given back, health, magicka, and stamina. If you take a synergy, take those synergies. You need them. Not only are they helpful for you and your group, but they give you back resources. Warhorn's already in there, we've done that. And of course we're an orc. Increase our max health by 6%, increases our healing received by 5%, and health recovery by 20%. Health recovery is meh, but the healing received is really important. And this increases the damage you do and makes you run faster, but that's just part of the passive, that's what you've got. Although you're quite quick, so fair enough. But 5% here, 12% on the Dragon Blood for having it active, and also a further 8% from the passives. So currently we're looking at like 25% healing received. Now, very important as well, make sure you get medicinal use. So if you're using crafted pots, especially if you're using tripots, health, magic, and stamina, they last 47 seconds instead of running out before your cooldown time. Cooldown time on a potion is 45 seconds. If the potion lasts 47, you can keep that recovery bonus up forever, as long as you've got the pots to do it. Now, how does this all work? We're going to go into the gear, and then you're going to see how much health healing received we have and why. Now, we did have more in the past, and you can still do it that way if you prefer. We're actually dropping some now, but it's still really, really strong for another good reason. Okay. We're still using the leech, and of course, defending one-hander. Yes, defending got reduced a little bit, but it's fine. I'm sitting on cat resists with no buffs. You can use a buff if you want and drop the resistances and mess with some traits and all that kind of stuff, but it does mean you have another skill to fire off, and who needs it, honestly. But it's up to you. And then you can change that to something else. But for this build, I'm using this. You want to change it? That's a different story. Defending sword, which is very, very easy to get. Complete ICP in either normal or veteran, it doesn't matter which. And a lot of the time, not all the time, this will drop from the last boss. This is his specific weapon, so it's guaranteed to drop in defending if you get it. So, easy sword to farm. You know where it is. You just have to go get it. I use a damage shield on this on purpose because I want to keep my shields up. You can change it to something else if you prefer, like a crusher or a reduced weapon and spell damage glyph if you like, but I generally don't. I would probably put that on the back bar instead, although that hasn't been glyphed, so excuse me. Grievous Leech and Ward, again, a very, very easy shield to get. Not because the dungeon's easy, because it's not. But if you do the quest for Imperial City Prison, the one that comes with the dungeon, make sure you are over level 50. Make sure you are 160 CP, because this shield comes from the quest. It is unique. It comes in reinforced. It's perfect. And I don't know if I can make him do it. Is he going to talk? Check that out. Lord Warden talks to you while you have it, while you unsheath it. It's nuts. Bit of a battle cry there. Anyway, we're using 5-piece legion, so those two are specific. You can actually get those a specific way. The sword isn't unique, so you can have 2 of them. It's fine, and you will need another shield, or maybe from the other set. You'd have to switch your pieces around, but I would prefer a reinforced, but I got a sturdy, so whatever. So sword legion, shield legion, essentially. Pirate skeleton, reinforced helmet and shoulders. This is really important to cap out your resists without a buff. And of course, this this proc here, I'm going to explain how it works in a moment. But you get major protection, which is 30% reduction to damage for 12 seconds. And it's got a 3-second cooldown on top of it. It takes 15 seconds to be able to reapply it. The cooldown starts as soon as the proc starts. So it kicks in, 12 seconds worth of turning into a skeleton and having major protection, and then 3 seconds later it can reapply. So it's quite nasty. 8% chance to proc it, obviously from taking damage. But we're also using 5-piece Iron Blood. Now for this specifically, I wanted reinforced on the large pieces and sturdy on the small. However, I have a Divine's Hands, which is fine for now. But I will try and get that trait. However, sturdy on the small, reinforced on the large pieces. You can put this in any order you like. It really doesn't matter. If you want to really, really optimize overall and try and push these little resistance bonuses on the Iron Blood set, you can go 5 Iron Blood on the body, Sword and Board Legion, and Jewelry Legion. But honestly, you can put it in any order you want if it's just a case of putting it on. So for now, reinforced big pieces, including the helmet and shoulder, because they give exactly the same resistances. See, 2.8, 2.8, they're the same. Sturdy on everything else, except that one. Boo. Magical recovery on the jewelry, on all 3 of them, which is why we have so much recovery. Now this will explain how this works. The Legion, first of all, gives you max health, 8% healing received with the 2 bonuses there, which now puts us up to about 29. Then, if you take damage, poison appears underneath the target, whichever one procced it. In an AoE situation, this is very, very strong because it's an area of effect poison, and every target hit will be damaged, of course, and you heal for 100% of the damage done. And this also stacks with heal and received bonuses that you have on you. So this is very, very strong. And on bosses, the kind of real estate they take up also takes this into consideration, and you get rather large heals off bosses as well. Really, really powerful set. And I'm going to show you how this works as well, so you don't even need a healer in most situations. Iron Blood also has major protection on it. Now I know they don't stack, so this and this don't stack because it's the same buff, but they can overwrite each other. This one lasts for 10 seconds. It does reduce your speed while this one's active instead of turning you into a skeleton, but this one lasts for 10 seconds, the other one lasts for 12. So while this is active, this can overwrite it, meaning that if they both proc within 5 seconds of each other, you just beat the cooldown and basically have major protection up all the time. Now the way to work this out is, this was fixed a long time ago and made for tactical play. Pirate Skeleton was made so that if you have a damage shield up, it doesn't fire. You can't proc it, which is brilliant, because if this fires, you turn into a shiny Terminator looking thing. You can time this. This has a 5-second cooldown overall. This has a 3-second. If this is halfway through, keep your shields up. When it's almost over, drop your shields. Pirate Skeleton can now overwrite it and keep almost 100% uptime on major protection. Then, because Iron Blood is on a 5-second cooldown, while you're halfway through the pirate skeleton, Iron Blood can then proc over top of it again. You see that happen? Get your shields back on. A little bit of tactical play there. It's tricky, but it works, and it's very, very strong. It's like you're a walking Nova, although they changed Nova, so you're a walking permafrost or whatever it's called now. Anyway, CPs, this is important. 28 in Ironclad to reduce incoming single target hits, heavy attacks from bosses, that kind of stuff. You can boost this up more if you want, but it's not really necessary. 31 in Thick Skin to hit the 13% jump point. 13% jump point here as well, and a 13% jump point here as well. So we've got really good resistances overall. 11 points into Quick Recovery. This again gives us more healing received, which does work alongside our own heal, which is Dragon Blood, and of course the leeching. All these healing received bonuses stack on top of that proc. You can't crit, but it can be buffed by healing received. This one originally was above all to get this. So while you're rezzing people, and you will be, you take much less damage. 15% in fact. Now if your major protection is up at the same time, which it probably will be, you've got a lot of reduction to incoming damage while you're rezzing someone. You can actually use it as a buff in a no shit situation. This here, to give 2k physical resistance while wearing heavy armor, is just to plug the gap in our physical resistance. As a DK we have a lot of spell resistance and our physical resistance isn't quite as high, so this is to fill that gap, meaning that we don't actually need a buff. Now when you're fully golded out and you're fully optimized, if you go over 3.2k physical resistance, you can drop some points in here and then dip it into Thick Skinned or wherever you like. 37 into Warlord. We don't have a lot of stamina, so we want to reduce that cost to break free. 75 points into Arcanist to give us 14% Magicka recovery, which is essential to our build. We don't want to spend the extra 25 points in here to make it 100 points, because if you do, you'll only get 1% extra. It's not worth it. Save those points. 75 points is just fine. 56 into Tenacity. Now I did have 75 points in here, but honestly it's overkill. 12% in this while we're heavy attacking is more than enough to keep up our sustain. It is perfect. 52 points into block cost reduction. Now I know this is just over the jump point, but we've got 2 points or 1 point spare. I think it goes nowhere, so it's going in here. This stacks alongside your 8% reduction to block cost with our Magicka Absorb ability on, and also stacks with our traits that we're using Sturdy on. If you gold them out, it's 4% a piece. So this is all really, really nice block cost reduction, especially since we don't have a lot of stamina. So instead of running out really, really quickly, you can actually do quite well. 75 into Blessed. This is to increase our healing done. Now this works alongside the Dragon Blood, which is a really big heal, and alongside of some other bonuses from like leeching and stuff like that. So that counts as healing done, so that bonus is applied there. It's very small because it's a small amount that you get healed on the leeching, but once you stack all the bonuses on top, it's actually quite a lot. Crit, this is only for Dragon Blood because it's the only heal we use that can actually crit, but it gives it a massive, massive bonus. And the rest of them, of course, tanks don't do DPS, do they? So there's nowhere really to put the points. We don't really care that we do any more physical damage or anything like that from light or heavy attacks, or it's rubbish. So what I have done is I've put 54 into Mighty, increasing our poison, disease and physical damage by 11%, meaning that the proc from the leeching, which is poison, is actually stronger. It's a dot, so it's also stronger again via Thermitage, and I put a little bit into penetration because we had 2 points spare. But these two here, buffing that damage, actually increase again the heal that we receive from the proc. So more damage on the poison, more heal from when it procs. And that is why they're all there. I think that's it. It is. Okay, now demonstration time. There's Lord Warden. Hear him? It's awesome. Okay, we're going to go into this. Like I said, 2 different types of food. You can use this, which is high Magicka recovery, or you can use this one, which is high health and high stamina. We'll go with the squishy stuff to start with. Rah, who cares? Don't need to go through there. We'll just keep going. See, now I turned into the shiny warrior. Now we keep my shields up. Pirate skeleton can't proc. Get rid of the shields. There you go. Boom. 100% uptime on major protection. Now Iron Blood can actually proc now because we're 5 seconds in. There it goes. Lovely job. Happy days. Now Pirate Skeleton does have Minor Defile attached to it, meaning that you take less from your healing received. Only while the skeleton is active. While the other one's active, it's not. So you're fine. As you can see, I'm healing without healing. Let's put them all. We don't need to taunt them, but we'll do it anyway. We have to pin ourselves in a corner here, I think. Block ulti is broken. And now we'll keep up our stuff and try and block some heavies, because there's a lot going on here. Legions firing, all the buffs are firing, everything is done for you. Just keep up your sustain as much as possible. I mean, you'll never ever have to do this. Oops. You'll never ever have to do this because it's way too much to block. But you can. Let's put it that way. I'm not having to heal the majority of the time. It's doing it for me. And I'm in a lot of fire. It's crazy. Okay, let's jump off the cliff. Whee! Way shrine, much quicker. Otherwise they're just going to ping pong me about for ages and you can't die. You get the idea. Now, there is a bug. We like bugs. Magic, actually. It's magic. Anything that happens in the world of Tamriel that isn't explained, according to Sarah from Bethesda, is magic. Now, when the pirate skeleton helmet procs, you turn it into a skeleton. That transformation is a little bit buggy, and for half a second, maybe a little bit less, you can't swap bars. Now, the good thing is, we don't have a resist buff, so we don't need to swap bars to get to it. That's point one. However, if you do want to swap bars a lot and you've got to put buffs on and all this kind of stuff, like you will do, there is a way to defeat it. Because it's not intended as a bug, but we do have one. If you go into appearance, this is a quest. I will link it in the description to get this polymorph. It's very easy to do. Get this. Turns you into a skeleton. Now, when Pirate Skeleton procs, you don't need to transform, so there's no delay. And that will fix it until Zos actually fix the animation of it. That is a fix for now. But if you're not switching bars that much, it really doesn't matter and you'll never notice. Okay, so hopefully that helped. He's tough as nails, simple as that. Hard as hell. Almost 100% uptime on major protection if you can keep it going. It's tricky, takes a little bit of tactical play, but it's really, really strong. And the Legion will keep you alive forever. It's ridiculous. Again, if you're struggling with your stamina, you can change your attributes that suit you best. It's entirely up to you. And of course, you can alter your food. Just take into account your magical recovery will drop a little bit if you do. Potion wise, I've got spell pots on for the moment just for the recovery, but I would recommend tripots, which is max health, max magic and max stam returned, and then 20% recovery to all three for 45 seconds, or 47 in fact if you have medicinal use. So I would definitely recommend those. They're expensive, but whatever, they help a lot. You don't always need to use one, but if you can, you're going to perform really well. Failing that, you can just use trash pots for Magicka or tripods, it's up to you. Now, I know people are a little bit worried about farming the gear. This does come from the new dungeon, Falkreath Hold. However, like I said already, you can just use 3 Legion jewelry, which can come from the chest in ICP. You can just buy key fragments and open the chest on repeat until you get what you want, and then you can get the 3 purple jewelry. You don't actually have to complete Falkreath on Veteran to get the jewelry. You can do it another way, and then you can go on normal and get the Iron Blood armor, 5 pieces on your body if you want, in blue, and just upgrade it. It's entirely up to you. The helmet for this, by the way, does come from Blackheart Haven, and the shoulder comes from the chest from the Undaunted area. But like I said, if you don't want to go farming loads of new stuff and you're worried because you upgraded all the stuff before when you were using the Legion and the Dragon, that's absolutely fine. I do have that on me still somewhere. You can still use 5-piece Dragon It will give you more recovery, it will give you more healing received, and it will give you more max health, and it will also give you reduction to ultimate costs. It won't give you the god mode stuff where you just take 30% reduction to damage all the time, but it will be really, really strong. It hasn't changed, it hasn't been nerfed or anything. In fact, it's a little bit stronger this patch because of the recovery stone getting a buff, which is really, really nice. So if you don't want to change, you don't have to. You can still use the old setup, it's absolutely fine. But I'd recommend this one because he's like the Terminator. He's a proper chunky tank. None of this hold block forever, please don't let my shield drop or I'll die. He can just take smacks in the face and laugh at you. He doesn't care. Of course, block the heavy stuff. This is the one most important thing about your sustain. Make sure you heavy attack and shield. Now if I run out of stamina, let's run out of stamina, and try and block, I've got nothing. I don't want to go that low, so heavy attack and shield and get your stuff back. It's really important. You don't have to use a shield every single rotation as such. It's not a rotation really, but you know what I mean. You can have to keep your shields up, pace them as much as you can, but keep your stamina up by using heavy attacks. Block the big stuff. I said this 100 times before. Block when you have to, not just because you can. What I mean by that is don't just hold the button because the button's there. Hold it when you need to. Let go when you don't. If it's not a heavy attack and you think you can take it, don't block. If it is a heavy attack, block or you're dead. Really, really simple. Perma blocking is a bit boring anyway because you skip all the mechanics. Because how are you going to look for a heavy attack if it's always blocked? Anyway, different type of tank. Hopefully that helped and hopefully it wasn't too boring. I don't think I missed anything. If I did, hit me in the comment section below and I'll try and answer any questions as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Of course, this is on the website as well, so the written guide is on there on XynodeGaming.com. That also will be linked in the description. First of all, big thank you to everyone. Just hit 7k subs. Really, really happy. Fully appreciate all the support. Secondly, if you want to help support the channel outside of YouTube, there is a Patreon link in the description, as well as a Facebook and Twitter page as well for you to follow if you would like. Some more builds are coming very, very soon. Of course, all the builds on my channel are being updated for the new DLC, and the next one to come is most likely going to be the Infused DK. So that's coming in the next couple of days or so. Once again, thank you all very, very much for watching, and goodbye.